When you think of billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk, you are likely to think of his electric car company Tesla, his venture into space exploration SpaceX, or perhaps even his stint hosting Saturday Night Live, to say nothing of his history of stirring up controversy on social media or smoking weed with Joe Rogan. Maybe you only know him as one of the richest people on Earth, or as a parent who's out of the ordinary. Something else you might be less familiar with is a company called Starlink that aims to sell internet connections to almost anyone on Earth through the use of a growing network of private satellites orbiting above the Earth. This is one of the growing businesses that Elon Musk has been focusing his efforts on in recent years. After some failures, he hasn't given up and continues to strive for success in this field. In addition, NASA also recently made a comment regarding the future of Starlink. So, are you excited to know more about what NASA and Musk think about Starlink's future? Well then, switch this video to full screen and watch this video till the end. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tech Universe. Before starting, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to get more updates on the space and tech world. That being said, let's begin. The pace of development within SpaceX picked up in 2021 after several years of development, and after the Federal Communications Commission announced to award of nearly $885.55 million in grant funds to the project at the end of 2020. As of January, the project has successfully delivered over 1,000 satellites into orbit after an incredibly successful launch season lasting over 3 years. 1 year and dozens of successful launches later, Starlink has a network of more than 2,000 operational satellites orbiting above the Earth. Additionally, the business of Starlink is growing at an accelerated pace. It was reported in February last year that Elon Musk company Starlink was serving over 10,000 subscribers. It has now been announced that Starlink has shipped more than 100,000 satellite internet terminals to customers in 14 countries, after expansion of pre-orders to even more potential customers, the launch of a second-generation home internet satellite dish, and the exploration of the possibility of developing in-flight Wi-Fi for passenger aircraft. The list includes Ukraine, where in February Musk said that additional satellite internet terminals would be en route amid the Russian-led invasion. Musk tweeted in February that Starlink service is now active in Ukraine. More terminals en route. So, does this mean that Starlink has gone global? Well, although the full scope of the service is still unclear, the company appears to be moving in the right direction. Musk, who disclosed Starlink's arrival at Mobile World Congress last June, told a crowd that the network would be available globally starting in August, except for the North and South Pole, though regulatory approval would be needed for regional availability. According to Musk's tweet in September, Starlink will exit its initial beta phase in October, which indicates that the service is continuing to ramp up and expand. Even so, the budding broadband provider still faces a backlog of prospective customers who are eagerly awaiting the arrival of equipment and the start of service. Similarly, Starlink has also been involved in some controversy. It has been reported that members of the scientific community are concerned about the impact of Starlink's low Earth orbit satellites on the visibility of the night sky. Despite this, satellite internet competitors such as Viasat, HughesNet, and Amazon's Project Kuiper had taken notice of Starlink's momentum for their own reasons, leading to regulatory jousting and attempts to slow Musk down. And NASA has voiced concerns regarding SpaceX's new Starlink satellites, including the possibility of increased collisions with other satellites in orbit. In a letter to the Federal Communications Commission (FCC), according to a report from Space News, a 5-page letter was submitted to the FCC on Tuesday. In addition to the letter from NASA, there is a separate 1-page letter from National Science Foundation, which was sent on NASA's behalf by the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. There is a proposal by SpaceX that has been submitted to the FCC for the addition of 30,000 more Starlink internet satellites as part of the Gen 2 of the Starlink system. There are presently 1,800 operational Starlink satellites in orbit, along with a few near misses that have already occurred in orbit. Some studies have suggested that Starlink may be accountable for about half of all close encounters in low Earth orbit. SpaceX's proposed new fleet has some serious reservations from NASA because of its track record. It is stated in a letter from NASA that they are quite concerned about the possibility of a significant increase in conjunction events in the near future and the possible consequences on NASA's science and human spaceflight programs and missions. The letter is drafted by Samantha Fonder, identified as NASA's representative to the Commercial Space Transportation Interagency Group. It was also included in the letter that NASA wants to ensure that the deployment of the Starlink Gen 2 system is conducted prudently, in a manner that supports spaceflight safety and the long-term sustainability of the space environment. The letter says NASA has concerns about whether or not SpaceX's automated collision avoidance system would be able to deal with the 5-fold increase in objects in orbit if SpaceX's system is adopted. As a result of these thousands of new satellites, NASA expects that they will have a significant impact on crewed and uncrewed missions in orbit due to an increase in close encounters or conjunctions with other objects. Due to the fact that thousands more satellites are passing through a rocket's planned flight path, Not only does this cause more collision risk, but it also increases launch risk by reducing launch windows due to an increase in satellites passing in front of the rocket. NASA is also concerned about a possible decrease in the availability of safe launch windows, especially for missions requiring instant launches or short launch windows, the agency said, citing the Europa Clipper mission as an example. It is also predicted that SpaceX's Gen 2 satellites will pose challenges to current scientific missions in the future. It is possible that the new satellites will double the number of Hubble Space Telescope images that contain satellite streaks within them. As of now, this interference amounts to 8%, the agency said. Additionally, we have concerns that these additional Starlink satellites could increase the risk of interference with NASA's planetary defense surveys, which are performed by ground-based telescopes to spy on the skies for potentially threatening space objects. It should be noted that no imminent celestial objects have yet been detected for our planet. Although the agency did not express an explicit opposition to the FCC granting SpaceX a license for Starlink Gen 2, it stressed that such a large expansion would require close coordination with other parties that are affected. Eventually, SpaceX hopes to have up to 42,000 satellites in this mega constellation system. In addition to the constellation of satellites SpaceX already has, it launched a new fleet of the company's Starlink satellites on March 3. It is believed that 47 satellites were launched in its Falcon 9 rocket that took off from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. It took 9 minutes from the time the Falcon 9 booster lifted off until it landed on the drone ship Just Read the Instructions, which was located in the Atlantic Ocean a few hundred kilometers from the launch pad. Also, as mentioned earlier, Musk sent some satellites to Ukraine after their communication was disrupted when the Russian army blew it up. So, after the launch of these new satellites, Russia's scientists claim that the reflected sunlight from Starlink satellites will ruin between 30% and 40% of the imagery from space. Similar to SpaceX's Starlink service, OneWeb is launching a constellation of satellites to provide a wireless internet connection service. However, OneWeb's recent satellite launches have been suspended since early March because Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, has demanded that the company comply with some demands in response to the UK sanctions. Experts say the potential use of Starlink as an interim measure for citizens and the government to stay connected during an invasion could be an important test for the relatively new technology and could have wide-ranging implications for the future of war. As a communication tool, staying informed, and even powering weapons, the internet has become an essential tool for our everyday life. Although Musk is a dreamer before he is an engineer, this means that he would never do anything that would harm humanity in any way. Let me just remind you that we are talking about Elon Musk here. There is only one company on Earth with a landable, reusable rocket that can deliver payload after payload into orbit, and SpaceX is that company. That is a very impressive advantage in the race for commercial space. As well as that, Musk also confirmed in 2018 that Starlink will provide the company with the revenue it needs to fulfill its long-held ambition to establish a base on Mars. If that day comes, it's also likely that SpaceX will attempt to establish a satellite constellation as well on the Red Planet. That means that Starlink customers are potentially doubling as guinea pigs for what is likely to be the Martian wireless networks of tomorrow. Anyway, what do you guys think about this? Tell us in the comments. And that's it for the day, God. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, peace.